So I've been pretty quiet about it lately, but the Lazarus Project is neither abandoned nor completed at this point. There's still a ways to go. I really want to cap off the series with a short sort of showcase slash test where I'm going to play a bunch of old favorites of mine and some of my friends. The thing is, I'm waiting for a better capture setup. I really want to actually get some decent footage of it, and I just can't afford that hardware yet. So it could be a while. I thought in the meantime I'd put out something, even if it looks kind of like crap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how I use this system, as well as the latest upgrade to it, the Voodoo2. So unfortunately you're not going to be able to see much here, but it's going to be a quick recap of the hardware of sorts. Yeah, processor's not showing up, don't know why. Anyway, so we got the various drives here, CD, hard drive, floppy drive, the Mach 64, a bunch of other crap. Actually, a lot of other crap. Just system controllers, mice, those sorts of things. See our Ethernet adapter down there, and then buried in multimedia devices, the Voodoo2. Finally. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but I use mostly FTP to get files onto this computer. My server slash NAS box is running an FTP server with limited access to certain folders for security reasons. It's safe enough, mostly works. I'm just going to grab Jill of the Jungle here. The one limitation is that the client doesn't seem to like large files very much. It just crashes after a certain percentage, and I don't know if that's a Win9X thing or a FileZilla thing. It's not the problem on the server end. It works fine with my Windows 2000 box, so I'll probably try to fix that someday, but for now it works well enough for most of the stuff I want to copy. So we'll see if this game runs under Windows. I've seen it on lots of other channels, but I've never actually played it before, so this is new for me. Yes, I would like Sound Blaster VGA. I think my computer's a little new for this game. So this seems like a pretty decent platformer. I don't have any memories of it. I never played it as a kid, but it looks... I mean, the art's pretty nice. The controls are a little stiff, but I am playing with a keyboard. It might be better with a gamepad. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not very good at this game. Ow. Ow. Yeah, I'm really not very good at this game. It's a good thing that Jill is a walking tank with a health bar, because if this was a one-hit and you die kind of platformer, I would be dead like 5 times by now. Shots fired. So I guess this is contemporary with Commander Keen, possibly near the end of that. So yeah, pretty cool. So other than games, I also listen to MIDI music on this machine sometimes. The AW64 has quite a unique, distinctive sound that I actually really started liking. I love those weird warbly synthy guitars. It's definitely a different sort of sound, but I'm really liking it, and there's no emulation for AW32, AW64 that I'm aware of, so hardware is the only way to get that sound. So the 3DFX Voodoo difference is something that gets talked about quite a bit, but it's not something I'd ever actually personally experienced. My first 3D accelerator was an ATI Rage 128, but I didn't get that until well into the GeForce era, so it was kind of old news by then. I'm going to start off with Windquake, which is pure software rendering, so no 3D acceleration here. As you can see, we're running at 320 by 240, which is pretty low res. It's kind of hard to tell because of the poor video quality, but it's very, very low res. The game looks okay, and it runs pretty well, but it's yeah, the textures are very blotchy, and the whole thing, you can count the pixels. So let's try it with Voodoo. You get this animated 3DFX logo, which is pretty cool. So this is GL Quake, the OpenGL version of Quake. It's shipped with the game, it's not a source port. As you can see, we're running at 640 by 480 this time. Again, I apologize for the video quality, but in person this is definitely better. It is noticeably smoother, close to a steady 60 FPS I think, where the software mode didn't get there. It's noticeably sharper owing to the higher resolution, and it's noticeably brighter, but that's probably just settings. It's not inherent to software versus OpenGL mode. However, the actual analog video output isn't great. It does have some lines and noise. The Voodoo and its weird loop cable thing goes from the 2D card to the Voodoo, then to the monitor. It does introduce noise even to pure 2D output. So I do keep saying OpenGL, and I'm not misspeaking. You may be thinking of Glide. Well, what we have here is called MiniGL, which is basically a shim that implements a limited subset of OpenGL over Glide. And there were various versions of this. Later ones supported more features, and I think some of them shipped with games while some of them shipped with drivers. So it's kind of funny. Quake was the killer app for the 3DFX Voodoo, but it wasn't even running native. I also tried Quake 2 and Half-Life, and the differences, well, it's not less pronounced, but it's certainly less impressive. Half-Life went from basically being unplayable to being playable but still not good. Quake 2 is a lot better with the Voodoo card than without, but it still has some serious frame rate dips. And I think that these games are new enough that they're starting to become CPU bound with the Pentium 133. So I'd like to try some of the older Glide games like Tomb Raider and Descent 2, that are going to be less demanding on the CPU and really let the Voodoo card shine. And I'm also looking into upgrading to a Pentium 200 for some extra CPU power, since my original plan with the MMX didn't work. So, is there really a Voodoo difference? Definitely, hell yes! You're probably sensing a but here, and yeah, there is a but. So I paid about $100 for this 12 megabyte Voodoo2, 100 Canadian. Some other models are cheaper, and of course you can get lucky. Originally it was $300 US, which works out to about 600 Canadian adjusted for inflation. So it wasn't a cheap card for the time, but not crazy expensive either, considering that prices of hardware were generally higher. And again, I'm reminded that things moved faster back then. So we have a card from 1998. We stick it into a computer from 1995 and try to play 1998 games. Well, it's not like today. Coffee Lake is something like 40% faster than Devil's Canyon, Haswell Refresh. Most games won't even use that. So stick a brand new video card in your 3-year-old PC, perfectly fine. You'll get great performance, unless it's like a piece of crap. But we're not talking pieces of crap, we're talking high-end hardware. 1998's high-end would have been a Pentium 2 well over 300 megahertz. I think we were hitting like 450 by then. That's something like 200% faster than 1995's high-end, which would have been a Pentium 133, maybe a 166, I'm not sure if it was out yet. So really, it's not surprising that we're starting to become CPU limited at this point. As for the Voodoo card itself, I think if you're an enthusiast, it's definitely worth having one of these. It's a really cool piece of kit, it's a nice piece of history, and I'm barely scratching the surface with it. Totally gonna do another video on it at some point. So the showcase video that I mentioned at the very beginning, that's also still in the cards, and I am planning on doing the Vista Games video that I mentioned way back. It's just kind of stalled a bit, and I am hoping to get back into reviewing after my unintentional hiatus. I just kind of forgot. So as always, like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.